On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla and EV podcast, Rivian has announced a new performance/skunkworks division of the company that aims to deliver a lot more fun to Rivian owners. Plus, Tesla reclaims the top sales spot in EV-dominant Norway, BYD has a battery breakthrough, and more. What's happening, friends? Alongside Daisy the Boxer and Lily the Silly Labrador, my name's Ryan McCaffrey. Welcome to Ride the Lightning, episode 553. It's your weekly Tesla and EV podcast. And now that we're into March, here's how I wanted to start this week's podcast. I thought I would circle back on something that I talked about in January and hold myself accountable. So remember when I floated a tip back in January that I had clearly stated I'd been given by somebody that was an untested source. I hadn't been able to vouch for them, didn't have a track record with them. But that source said that the Model Y L would be coming to the US in February. Well, it's March, so clearly that didn't happen. However, what did happen in February, as we all know, is the cancellation of the Model X, and of course the Model S as well. And so I do still think my source might end up being proved half correct. I do think the Model Y L is coming to the United States, just obviously not as soon as that source thought. But really, it would make perfect sense for Tesla to announce the Model Y L in early Q3, basically while the Model X's body is still warm, like just right after the last X has been built, presumably at about the end of Q2, bring in the Model Y L. It would leverage existing Model Y manufacturing capacity and could almost certainly capture some of the lost Model X sales, and in fact, hopefully even more sales from people that want a larger SUV with 3 rows of seating but can't afford a Model X. So I guess what I'm saying here is, and I don't have any sources telling me anything this time, but I do think that an early Q3 announcement of the Model Y L coming to the United States is highly likely. It just makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. So I guess I'm making a mid-year prediction here. You know, I typically do all my predictions right at New Year's, but that's what I think's going to happen, and you can feel free to hold me to this in about, 4 months from now, really, so we'll see. All right, well, I believe on last week's podcast, which I had recorded shortly before Tesla raised the price on that new $60,000 all-wheel drive Cybertruck trim, that I think I said something along the lines of, my heart wants it to only go up to $65,000, but my brain thinks it'll go to $70,000. And well, as you all well know by now, my brain was right on that one. I know there are going to be people out there that will defend this whole strategy from Tesla, saying that it's going to make Tesla more money for the folks that are willing to pay the price, while the wait time for delivery on that version stretches into 2027, as I talked about last week. They'll say, hey, that's just capitalism, that's just supply and demand, and you know what? I can't argue with that. But it just sure doesn't feel great as a customer, you know? Just to feel like you're a guinea pig being experimented on with the pricing of this stuff. I mean, the reality is we won't really get any data on how much that 10-day, now you could call it introductory pricing on the standard all-wheel drive Cybertruck move the needle for Tesla until Q3. That is when we'll find out some real data. The new trim is supposed to begin delivering in June, which, yes, is still Q2, but only the tail end of it. So even if deliveries were to start on June 1st, it's still only a third of the quarter. So that's what I mean when I say that Q3 will be when we see its effect. And we might really see, because when we get the Q3 numbers at the beginning of October, the S and X will be gone by then, and thus they won't be lumped in with the Cybertruck, although there will almost certainly still be an other vehicles category. There's the 3 and Y category, of course, and then the other vehicles category. So while S and X will come out of the other vehicles category, Tesla will probably lump in the Cybercab with other vehicles, and possibly the Tesla Semi as well. Well, I made the Cybertruck's new price point, or at least the new trim's price points, plural now, the subject of this week's Patreon poll. And I want to thank the over 300 of you that kindly took the time to stop by my Patreon page and vote in this week's poll. A friendly reminder, the Patreon poll is open to everybody. It's totally free. You do not have to be supporting me. You don't have to be backing the podcast on Patreon in order to participate in that poll. So you can stop by each week at patreon.com/Tesla podcast, or just click the link in the episode description and you will come to my page and you'll see that new poll go up each week, typically on Tuesday evenings. So again, this week's poll was simply, how do you feel about the base Cybertruck's new price point? And I thought the results were interesting. 44% of poll respondents voted for $70,000 is too expensive for what this trim offers. 28% said, I don't love it, but it's a heck of a lot more reasonable than the previous $70,000 rear-wheel drive Cybertruck. 12% went with no opinion, or just show me the results. And then 10% said, I could tolerate $65,000, but $70,000 is pushing it. And just 6% of you voted $70,000 is still a fair price for what this trim offers. And that was probably the thoughts on not voting for that were probably had a lot to do with the lack of air suspension, right? That's the major feature, as I had detailed a couple episodes ago. That's the major feature that's been removed, and then the interior is stripped down a bit. But so yeah, this would seem to suggest, based on this small sample size of a little over 300 of you, that Tesla will not be seeing a lot of orders at $70,000 now. And again, maybe they want that, which seems backwards and counterintuitive. But if the wait time for that trim is now into next year, they might be pricing it this way on purpose so that people either need to suck it up and pay more, or maybe step up to the premium all-wheel drive for $80,000 that delivers sooner and gives Tesla more money. I don't know, but in any case, that is what you guys voted. So thank you very much for making your voice heard on this week's Patreon poll. Now, an unfortunate plot twist in this, what I would call a messy saga of the $60,000 Cybertruck, although, to be clear, what I'm about to talk about affects anyone buying a new Tesla right now. It does not simply apply just to those $60,000 Cybertruck buyers. Tesla updated their website this past week and their policy to now say that instead of simply ordering your new vehicle by March 31st in order to be able to transfer FSD to your new car, you have to take delivery of it by March 31st. Which obviously, for most people that order, in fact, not most, for literally everyone that ordered the $60,000 Cybertruck, since deliveries on that don't begin till June, that means nobody that ordered that trim at that price is going to be able to transfer their FSD over to their new truck. And again, like I don't want to keep harping on this. Like I feel like I'm just complaining about this every week, but it's really, I guess this is what, the third week now, but the back and forth on this is just not awesome. Like, again, I really don't enjoy criticizing Tesla's moves. I would rather be celebrating all of the fun and cool stuff going on at Tesla and in the larger EV world. but I do feel like that I've had a number of reasons to be critical of Tesla recently. Again, clearly a number of people, plenty of folks ordered that $60,000 Cybertruck during that 10-day window, and they ordered it counting on being able to transfer their not everybody, of course, but probably a healthy number of them, counted on being able to transfer their existing FSD as part of the big incentive to make that purchase, even if the truck wasn't going to be delivered until later this year or even early next year. So it just hurts goodwill. And it, quite frankly, at least in my opinion, not everybody will agree, it breaks trust with customers. And what's really unfortunate is that, like the $60,000 price for 10 days situation, this FSD transfer thing was completely avoidable. So I guess I'll kind of close out this segment before I move along to more fun news this week. I'll just say that if it seems like I've been more critical of Tesla lately, it's because they've been doing a whole lot of consumer unfriendly stuff that I think they deserve to be called out for. You know, these things, these moves that they've been making may be good for Tesla, but they're, in my opinion, not good for us, not good for current and future customers. And if you're wondering, well, come on, Ryan, like it's, the Cybertruck thing. Okay. Well, may I remind you, this is what's gone on in the last, literally the last month. They've discontinued the Model S and the Model X. They've removed basic autopilot from all new cars moving forward and not given anything equivalent as a standard feature included with the car, where practically almost so many new cars, I won't say practically all, but so many new cars, especially in the Model 3 and Model Y price category, do include some sort of auto steer equivalent, some sort of basic autopilot-like functionality. Now the 3s and the Ys and Cybertruck, for that matter. In fairness, Cybertruck's never had it, but 3 and Y don't have that anymore, and the remaining S's and X's will not have that anymore either. And then certainly the poorly communicated 10-day price window for that $60,000 Cybertruck, and now this FSD policy change. That's 4 things in the past month. That's an average of 1 a week. Tesla did not used to make what I would classify as unforced errors like this. So I just wonder, what's going on over there lately? Is it all Elon? Is it all on him? Was there somebody else there besides him who used to be a person that this kind of stuff would run through, and that person's gone? I don't know. Is it other managers in the company who didn't used to make these kinds of calls before, but now are doing so, and they're not doing a good job of it? Whatever it is, wherever the buck stops, whatever the reasons for this series of consumer unfriendly decisions, I sure hope it stops soon. Because historically, as you've heard me say plenty of times before, this company's been better than this. They have typically, traditionally, in my opinion, done the right thing by the customer. But lately, they're not doing it. All right, as I promised, here's some more fun news. Remember those Giga Berlin expansion plans that were talked about last year? Well, now we've got a better idea of exactly what Tesla's planning to do with that expanded capacity at Giga Berlin, courtesy of a new conversation between the Giga Berlin plant manager, Andrei Tyrig, and Tesla CEO Elon Musk. It's a 23-minute conversation that's been posted directly to the official Tesla manufacturing account on X, which is at Gigafactories, if you'd like to go check it out or go follow that account. Here is a clip of that 23-minute conversation.
If things go well, we would probably manufacture Cybercab in Europe as well, and also manufacture Optimus in Europe. So We've got the Tesla Semi coming out, so the Tesla heavy truck, and that'll be going to Europe hopefully next year. There's so many things happening. It's a long list.
I find it a little interesting to say that Elon said if things go well, they'll also build cybercabs and Optimus robots in Berlin. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate the cautious approach there rather than like old Elon from like 10 years ago would have just said, oh yeah, we're building, like he would have said it as a guaranteed fact when, he has since learned that sometimes things change, plans change. So I appreciate the cautious approach, but given that the Cybercab and Optimus are two huge keys to Tesla's success over the next 5 or so years, Tesla's going to have to build them at multiple facilities in order to maximize production and minimize costs. Like, in other words, for Tesla to achieve the goals that it has set out for itself, they're going to need to be at high enough production volumes on both of those vehicles that they're going to need to be building each of those on multiple continents. But presumably Optimus being built at Giga Berlin, that's probably further out, I would imagine, since, of course, production hasn't even started on it quite yet on any continent. And Cybercab is going to take a bit to ramp up in Texas first, plus there's arguably an even higher regulatory hurdle that Tesla will have to clear in Europe before they can start selling the Cybercab over there. Now, the nice thing is the Cybercab is very much sized to be friendly to European roads, unlike, obviously, the big one is literally the Cybertruck, which is too big for European roads. Even S and X are quite large vehicles, but Cybercab will fit in literally just fine on European roads. But yes, the regulatory piece is definitely part of it, plus just getting it ramped up and going with the unboxed manufacturing process at Giga Texas first. But still, I wanted to play that clip for you because I just think it's good to know what those next steps are for Giga Berlin in terms of their upgraded production capacity. Before I continue with this week's Tesla and EV news, I wanted to mention this week's Lightning Round mini episode over on Patreon. If you're kindly supporting the podcast, supporting what I do here every single week over on my Patreon page, found at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. I hope you enjoyed this one. I put a lot of thought into this one, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I made this week's Lightning Round a 3-point plan for how I would fix what I feel ails Tesla right now. Circling back to what I was talking about near the top of the podcast there about these recent missteps, these recent consumer unfriendly things. Well, I put pen to paper, so to speak, and came up with 3 ways, like real ways. I took the thought assignment, the thought exercise very seriously. 3 ways that I think Tesla could improve what's been ailing them lately. So if you're with me on Patreon, I hope you'll check that out. If you're not already backing me on Patreon and you'd like to join at that most popular tier, that's the $10 per month tier. That's the one that gets you access to those weekly Lightning Round mini episodes. Again, you can head on over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. There are annual pledge options for all the tiers at which you get a 10% discount. So if you have it in the kindness of your heart to do a once a year pledge to support for the whole year, I'll give you a 10% discount on that as a way to say thank you. And there are also 7-day trials as well. If you just like to test it out, see what it's like over on Patreon, come join me. Come join me and the rest of the Patreon community. In other Tesla news this week, Tesla reclaimed the top spot in Norway's auto market for the month of February as EVs captured more than, this is not a mistake, 98% of all new car registrations. I saw this story on Teslarati, who wrote in part, "The rebound follows a sharp January slump triggered by VAT rule changes. value-added tax, I believe is what that stands for, which prompted numerous car buyers to advance their purchases into late 2025. As per data from the Norwegian Road Traffic Information Council, 7,127 new EVs were registered in February, representing a 98% market share. Fossil fuel vehicles and hybrids accounted for just 2% of total new registrations. Total new car registrations reached 7,272 units in February, hinting at a rapid recovery after January sales fell nearly 75% year over year following VAT adjustments. OFV Director Geir-Inge Stokey, I'm definitely mispronouncing that and I sincerely apologize, noted that similar patterns were observed after previous VAT changes in 2022, with demand temporarily weakening before normalizing, as noted in an Alt Om Elbil report. Quote, "We are now seeing signs that the market is returning to a more normal level of activity, which we also experienced after the VAT change in 2022. At that time, changes in demand led to a weak start to 2023. We have seen the same pattern this year," he said. The Model Y recorded 1,073 registrations, giving it a 14.8% market share for the month. Tesla also became Norway's top-selling brand with 1,210 registrations, representing a 16.6% market share. Toyota followed with 941 registrations, while Volkswagen, Volvo, and Skoda rounded out the top 5 brands. Thank you to Teslarati there. Honestly, I wasn't actually mentioning this story because Tesla came out on top. I mean, hey, that's cool and all, but what really jumped out at me, and I know this will not come as a surprise for anybody who's been following the worldwide EV scene for a while, is that astounding 98% number. Let me emphasize what just happened in February. 98% of all new vehicle registrations in the entire country of Norway were electric cars. That's just incredible. Truly, they are living in the future. I mean, I know there are still gas-powered cars in that country, because remember, this is only new car registrations, not used, nothing else. New car registrations, but man, Norway roads and population centers must be so much quieter than ours, with all these EVs running around. Not to mention the air quality. In fact, there was a story that I saw recently that I think I meant to mention on the podcast, but then forgot to put it in my notes and thus never put it on the podcast. A recent story I saw, and I'm just paraphrasing here, showed that EVs are making neighborhood air cleaner, like markedly cleaner, in areas that have good EV adoption. So anyway, bravo Norway. That is awesome stuff. Moving to other EV news this week, what I've actually made the headline story for this podcast, Rivian has unveiled the Rivian Adventure Department, or RAD, which as a person born in 1980, I can very much appreciate the acronym RAD right there. I used the word RAD quite a lot in the late 80s, as many of you who were around then probably did too, so I appreciate it. RAD, the Rivian Adventure Department, a newly christened performance division within the company. This story comes from Rivian's own blog. They write, RAD is a team of Rivian designers, engineers, and adventure enthusiasts who spend their days and nights exploring the limits of what a Rivian can do. They have one mission, finding the next level of what's possible with our vehicles, bridging between where we find the extremes and the features that end up in your driveway. Quote, RAD represents the living, breathing expression of the passion that defines Rivian. That impulse to explore, to push limits, and to embrace the adventure is not confined to one team. It is the very DNA of our entire company, from the designers and engineers to our community of owners, said Jeff Hammond, Chief Design Officer. He continues saying, quote, The Rivian Adventure Department simply gives an official name and a powerful focus to the transparent, open spirit that drives every vehicle we design and every mile we seek out. It's a promise to never stop pushing the boundaries of adventure." End quote. What started as a way for our engineers to fine-tune driving dynamics at Rebelle or Pikes, those are a couple of races that were mentioned elsewhere in their blog, has evolved into a tool for you, what we call RAD Tuner. It allows Gen 2 quad motor owners to create their own drive modes in real time, adjusting power output, torque bias, stability control, and brake regeneration to match the trail or road ahead. These software updates are built on lessons learned from the edge, delivered directly to you. The presets you find in RAD Tuner, like Desert Rally and Hill Climb, are built and tested in the real world, our hardest proving ground. And then there's more here. So a little bit of detail about Desert Rally. They mention, when we won the 2023 Rebelle Rally, making history as the first EV to do so, it wasn't just about the trophy. That victory gave birth to the Desert Rally Drive mode, a preset honed directly from the race data needed to conquer that terrain. And then regarding Hill Climb, the aforementioned Pikes Peak, they say, when we took the R1T to Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, we weren't just chasing a record. Our goal was to understand how to make an all-electric truck feel like a rally car at 14,000 feet elevation. We built a tool that allowed us to adjust stability control, regeneration, and torque bias in real time. That tool was too fun to keep to ourselves, so we refined it into RAD Tuner, giving you the power to dial in your own driving dynamics. Here's another quote. RAD is where we maximize the capability of our vehicles, subjecting them to extreme conditions, from the 14,000-foot ascent of Pikes Peak to the barren deserts of the Rebelle Rally. For us, the competition is only one element. Vigorously validating every system, component, and algorithm is the other, said Luke Lynch, the chief engineer of R1. He continues saying, quote, "The greatest outcome of developing the vehicles in these extreme environments is a beautifully well-rounded vehicle. The cherry on top is translating those hard-won lessons into features, like the new RAD Tuner, that deliver next-level fun to our owners," end quote. In the spirit of finding these new extremes, we are heading to the snow, where RAD makes its official debut at the 2026 FAT Ice Race, FAT in all caps, so it must be an acronym for something. The 2026 FAT Ice Race in Big Sky, Montana. Not only are we showing off this team and our livery, we'll be competing in the race itself with the new Quad R1S. The FAT Ice Race is a one-of-a-kind winter motorsport festival that takes place in both Zell am See, Austria, and, for the first time in 2026, in Big Sky, Montana. This unique event blends historic and modern car culture, design, music, and community with racing on snow and ice, featuring vintage race cars, modern performance cars, and even ski-joring, which apparently is skiing towed by a car, for a vibrant, lifestyle-focused automotive spectacle. Amidst these vintage racers, specialized cars, and automotive legends, we are showcasing what the future of extreme adventure looks like, proven on the ice, ready for the world. As a quick aside, you know what that reminds me of? Because video games are my day job. It kind of reminds me of the Horizon Festival in the Forza Horizon video games, right? Any of my fellow gamers out there are probably nodding along right now like, yes. Anyway, so it's maybe not quite the RAD division here. RAD is maybe not quite like the M division at BMW or the AMG division at Mercedes, but kind of an adventure-first twist on that. I think that's really cool, quite frankly, and it is very much in the spirit of Rivian's brand. Now, presumably down the road, we will get maybe a proper RAD version of each of Rivian's three vehicles. In fact, maybe the R3X that they've already revealed for production near the end of the decade, which, by the way, got a ton of buzz when it was first shown off. They had it at the R2 unveiling, and they also, as like a one more thing, unveiled the R3, and specifically the R3X, which was like a performance kind of rally-ish version of the... Now, the R3 is much smaller than even the R2 is smaller than R1. R3 is quite a bit smaller, and R3 was arguably stealing the show over the R2, with nothing against the R2 at all. Of course, now, plenty of focus, plenty of hype, plenty of attention is on R2 because R3 is still a good ways out. It's still probably 2 to 3 years away. But anyway, my point is to say that maybe that car, the R3X, that has had so much buzz when it was first shown off, maybe that'll end up being called the R3 RAD edition or something like that. But regardless, as a performance enthusiast myself, I applaud Rivian for dedicating resources to pushing the performance of its vehicles to these new heights, and I really look forward to seeing what the RAD team comes up with. Alrighty, I've got 2 more stories for you this week in the other EV news department. This one also relates to Rivian, but in fact Lucid as well. Washington State. We've got some news up there. Washington dealers strike a compromise to let Rivian and Lucid sell EVs directly. I saw this one on Drive Tesla Canada. They wrote, after years of stalled efforts and mounting political pressure, Washington state lawmakers are suddenly moving with unexpected speed on Senate Bill 6354, legislation that would allow Rivian and Lucid to sell vehicles directly to customers, similar to the exemption granted to Tesla back in 2014. Under current state law, automakers must sell through franchised dealerships. Tesla remains the lone exception. Rivian and Lucid operate showrooms in Washington, but they are prohibited from completing vehicle sales at those locations. State Bill 6354 was introduced on February 19th and quickly advanced out of the Senate Transportation Committee. The proposal is the result of unexpected behind-the-scenes negotiations between the EV startups and the Washington State Auto Dealers Association, a group that has historically opposed direct sales. Quote, I think on balance, it's a good compromise, said Senator Marco Lias, chair of the Transportation Committee. The bill includes narrow eligibility criteria. That narrow criteria is as follows. To qualify, an automaker must 1. Be a U.S.-based company. 2. Exclusively manufacture battery electric vehicles. 3. Have at least 300 vehicles registered in Washington as of January 1st. 4. Operate at least one in-state service facility. And 5. Have never held a franchise agreement with a dealer. So yes, that does seem pretty specifically targeted to Rivian and Lucid, doesn't it? And I'll be honest, I actually was not aware that Tesla had an exception in Washington State and that Rivian and Lucid were thus left out in the cold. It's especially surprising to me because, having been up to the Seattle area here and there over the years, because there's a lot of video game development that happens up there. In fact, Microsoft, of course, is headquartered there, so Xbox is headquartered there, and Nintendo of America, Nintendo's American operations are headquartered there as well. But anyway, having been up in the Seattle area on a semi-regular basis over the years, there are so many Rivians, just to my eyes, up in the Seattle area. I think I was saying this on a recent podcast with some other Rivian story, presumably it was the R2, but in my anecdotal experience, Rivians up in the Seattle area are like Teslas down here in the San Francisco Bay Area in that there are a disproportionately large number of them. Not that there aren't Teslas in the Seattle area, there very, very much are, and not that there aren't Rivians here in my neck of the woods. There very very much are. But it really seems like Rivian is a dominant EV force up there, as Tesla is that here. But anyway, I am very glad to hear that it looks like this bill will get through. Of course, we shouldn't need a bill at all. Any automaker should be free to sell directly to consumers because, as we've all learned, and most of us have experienced firsthand, these dealership and franchising laws, they are archaic and they do exactly the opposite of what they were intended to do when they were first passed decades ago. In most cases, many decades ago. They have outlived their usefulness, and Tesla's been fighting them state by state, and I'm glad to see Rivian and Lucid joining the fight now as well. And the final story I've got for this week's podcast before we move along to your phone calls in the Ride the Lightning hotline, it's a big one. It's from BYD, who has officially revealed the next generation of its Blade battery technology, introducing dramatically faster charging speeds and improved energy density. Saw this one on Drive Tesla Canada, who wrote, "The new battery, unveiled alongside BYD's Flash Charging 2.0 system, is designed to support ultra-high charging power of up to 1,500 kilowatts, enabling EVs to replenish significant range in just minutes." As a quick aside, before I go back to Drive Tesla's story there, the V4 superchargers for Tesla, if you have a Cybertruck, peak at 500 kilowatts. So this is triple that. Anyway, according to the company, vehicles equipped with the updated battery can charge from 10% to 70% in about 5 minutes, and from 20% to 97% in under 12 minutes, even in extremely cold temperatures as low as negative 20 degrees Celsius or negative 4 Fahrenheit. The second generation Blade battery continues to use lithium iron phosphate, that's LFP, a technology BYD has championed for its safety, durability, and lower costs compared to nickel-based batteries. BYD says the new cells offer about 5% higher energy density compared to the original Blade battery introduced in 2020. While that increase may appear modest on paper, it translates into a noticeable improvement in driving range when applied across an entire battery pack. For example, BYD says the Yangwang's if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I think so, the U7, equipped with a 150 kilowatt hour battery pack, can deliver up to 1,006 kilometers or 621 miles of range, here's a caveat, on China's CLTC testing cycle. Meanwhile, the Denza Z9 GT is rated for up to 644 miles under the same standard. And as Drive Tesla Canada notes here, because CLTC estimates tend to be more optimistic, those figures would likely translate to roughly 450 miles under the EPA test cycle. Still pretty darn impressive. The company also says the battery maintains improved durability, increasing the guaranteed capacity retention rate by 2.5% compared to the previous generation. BYD is also backing the technology with a lifetime warranty on the battery cells, signaling confidence in long-term reliability. BYD says it intends to deploy 20,000 flash charging stations by the end of 2026, including 2,000 installations along highways. As of this week, the company says it had already completed more than 4,000 stations. The second generation Blade battery isn't just a concept. BYD says 10 production models will be among the first to adopt the technology, including vehicles across its BYD, Denza, and Yangwang brands. So thank you to Drive Tesla Canada for that one. You know, what's super cool about this to me is that this is not just in a lab. that's most of the EV so-called battery breakthroughs that you hear about are in a lab. They're not in the real world. Now, I'm no battery engineer or chemist, but I do know that there's a massive difference between a battery breakthrough that works in a lab and one that works in the real world in production cars that are for sale to the public. And BYD has achieved that here. Now, for those of you outside the United States, congratulations, because you're going to get access to these cars before too long. For those of us in the US, we're pretty much going to have to rely on Tesla to match or exceed what BYD has pulled off here. And hopefully Tesla is going to do that. Because even though Tesla is, by their own words, all in on autonomy and humanoid robots, both of those focuses can still hugely benefit from better battery tech. Smaller batteries or longer range batteries, or both, are extremely useful in either scenario. If you can put a smaller battery in Optimus, well, that saves money, allows you to up your margins and hopefully pass along some of that savings to the consumers. Same thing with the cars. Makes them smaller, makes them lighter, makes them cheaper if you've got more efficient, better batteries in them. Now, if Tesla's got something up its sleeve, we might hear about it in just a couple weeks if that Roadster re-reveal event is going to happen on April 1st. Now, as a quick side note related to that, again, I'm recording this on March 6th. Since Tesla typically sends out invites to their events 1 to 2 weeks in advance, it means that if April 1st is going to be the day for the new Roadster, we should probably hear about it maybe next week's episode, but almost for sure would be the episode after that, 555. Now, Elon has said before that the Roadster will get the most advanced tech that Tesla has to offer, including the battery. And if the new Roadster is packing new battery tech, well, guess what? Tesla will probably want to shout from the rooftops about it at that event. And understandably so. They should be super proud and happy if they've got a killer new battery advancement that's going into the supercar. So stay tuned on that. But in the meantime, I want to say bravo to BYD for meaningfully moving the needle forward for the EV movement. Because a 20 to 97% charge in about 12 minutes, that's incredible. And 10 to 70% in about 5 minutes, that's just wild. I mean, you are nearly at parity with a gasoline refuel at that point. And the thing that does, not only does it obviously add convenience for owners of those cars with those batteries in them, but it helps welcome new potential EV owners into the tent, because that's still one of the big sticking points for a lot of people who don't want to switch to an EV yet is, it takes too long to recharge. So guess what? If you're on the road and it doesn't take long to recharge anymore, that's going to push more and more people to go ahead and make the switch and get themselves an EV. All right, that's everything I've got in this week's Tesla and EV news. Stick with me, though. Your Ride the Lightning hotline calls are coming up next.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Before I get to your phone calls, a quick mention from my friends at Accelerate Auto and their XCare extended warranty option for not just Teslas, but for all EVs. Again, whether people realize it or not, there's a timing element to grabbing an extended warranty option that matters more than most people think. So when it comes to EV coverage, it's not really about if you buy it. I mean, certainly it's your choice whether you're going to get it or not, but it definitely matters when. So coverage is generally more cost advantaged when it's purchased before your factory warranty ends rather than after. That's because pricing, eligibility, and available options change with time and mileage, even if nothing's wrong with the car. Again, the analogy I keep using here, think of it like tires. You don't wait until your tires are just bald to plan your tire replacement. You're keeping an eye on mileage, wear, timing, all that stuff. EV ownership works the same way. So XCare helps EV owners understand where they are now, what changes later, and when it makes sense to act. And if you like, you can talk directly with Tesla and EV experts, not a generic call center, by calling 844-755-4186. If you want to do everything online, go for it. Head on over to xcare.com. That's xcare.com. And if you end up choosing a service plan, an extended warranty plan for your vehicle, during checkout, make sure to use the referral code LIGHTNING for $100 off. So again, you can speak to someone directly to answer any questions you might have at 844-755-4186, or head on over to xcare.com and use the referral code LIGHTNING for $100 off. It's time to hear from all of you in the Ride the Lightning hotline, your chance to call and leave a question, comment, or discussion topic and potentially be featured on an upcoming episode. So there are two easy ways to do that, if that sounds good to you. You can either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. I kindly ask that you keep it to 90 seconds or less so I can get to as many callers each week as possible. Or you can simply take that 90-second or less message and call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. The number to call, it's toll-free. It's 1-888-989-8752. That number again, 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special out there with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they are special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. First up this week is Daniel from Oklahoma.
Hello, Ryan. This is Daniel from Oklahoma. Hey, I was just realizing we got a lot of stuff coming up in the next month. With it now being March, I realized we got the Roadster reveal in less than a month. We got another Starship flight coming up in this month. We're going to get production of the Cybercab without a steering wheel or pedals, meaning full autonomy within a month. And the next Optimus robot will be revealed within the month. Like, those four things will completely blow everyone's mind. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not good at recording these things. Maybe don't use me. Anyway, love your podcast. Take care, Ryan. Bye.
You're absolutely right, Daniel. Thank you for calling in to remind us of all the fun stuff that Tesla does have on the docket for the near future. And I would just like to respectfully add one that you left out. The Tesla Semi official launch of the production version of that truck with that slightly revised design that's going to be coming out of that new Tesla Semi factory at Giga Nevada. I know Semi isn't a vehicle that any of us will be buying, but still, it counts. Anyway, you are so right. There is a lot to look forward to in the next probably like 60 to 90 days. So bring it on, Tesla. We are ready. Next up, here is John calling in with a correction.
Hi, Ryan. My name's John Tarr. I was just listening to the episode 552, and you said that Tesla delivered on that middle Cybertruck, the all-wheel drive for the 49,990 that they had it at. Well, I was one of those 4-year in the waiting people that was on that waiting list with my $100 down, and I didn't pull through on that one because of the price increase on the trucks. Anyways, I just wanted to let you know that on that particular episode, you said that they went ahead and they did that middle truck. They They came, they went ahead and for $60,000. Well, not really, because for the $49,990, you got to remember that dual-wheel drive, that all-wheel drive truck was with the air suspension. And you said on the podcast on episode 552 that, they did follow through on that middle truck. Well, not really, because the air suspension is not on that $60,000 truck. And the air suspension was supposed to be on the truck, the all-wheel drive, for $49.90. I just wanted to let you know about that because I thought that was important to know. I'm sure other people have caught that. So anyways, I was, no big deal. I was just, I want to thank you for your podcast. I appreciate everything you do, and it was great talking to you. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.
Thank you for your call, John. You are absolutely right. That is certainly a key piece of the Cybertruck puzzle, which the $60,000, now $70,000 all-wheel drive version of the truck does not have. So I suppose I should have said Tesla came closer than ever to delivering on the original promise of that $50,000 dual-motor, 300-mile range Cybertruck. That's what I should have said. I appreciate you listening and keeping me honest, John. Thank you so much. Next is Jonathan from the UK, who got to try FSD for the first time and wanted to share his experience. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hello, Ryan. This is Jonathan Hodges from the UK, who has just tried FSD for the very first time, driving a hired Cybertruck all the way from Washington, D.C. down to Texas. I found the Cybertruck a lovely, comfortable vehicle to drive, and isn't it great to have that rear wheel steering? For FSD, wow, it's really, really incredible. It never once did anything that I felt unsafe, and it was amazing how it even avoided potholes on the highway, did roundabouts, small roads, everything you'd expect of a good driving system. Its only weakness I found was finding its way out of parking lots. It sometimes could not seem to work out where to go to exit. And that is something that Tesla needs to address. And also it doesn't seem to recognise disabled spaces, and occasionally I had to stop it parking in one of those. But overall, I think they're 99% there, and FSD is absolutely wonderful. I can't wait for us to get it in the UK and Europe.
Jonathan, thank you for sharing your experience, which I think is fun to hear about because you're a Tesla owner who knows all about the cars and all about FSD. You hear about it every week on this podcast, but you'd not been able to experience it for yourself. And for you to go straight to version 14 on a Cybertruck without having lived through the years of the FSD beta on Hardware 3, that, at least for me, that's a really unique perspective. And I'm thrilled to hear how impressed you were with it. And yes, sometimes it can find its way out of parking lots and it's like magic, but when it can't, and then it gets kind of frustrating. But I hope the UK gets FSD supervised very soon. Next up, we go to another Jonathan. This one is in Atlanta.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call again. It's Jonathan from Atlanta. Obviously not a first-time caller and a long-time listener. But I just wanted to kind of give a PSA/pro tip to anybody replacing the tires on at least a Model Y, and I would assume this would go for a Model 3 as well, too. But I wanted a staggered setup, and I got one the last time I replaced the tires. I've got acceleration boost and an all-wheel drive Model Y, and I got a 275 width tire on the back, and everything worked great. I don't remember the profile. I don't remember if it was 40 or 35. But anyway, I had to have those tires replaced again, and I went in and wanted a 275 again, and they replaced it with a profile that was R35, and come to find out, my fronts are R40. So the profile was different. I didn't even think about that until about 5 minutes into my drive home, and my traction control system started to go crazy. I drove immediately to Tesla. Thank you to Tesla for having a service center right near me within like 15 minutes of Discount Tire. And they were unsure what was going on. They looked at all of my warnings that were going off, and nothing would suggest that anything was going wrong. So I just, again, did a search of Tesla forums and everything and thought, well, maybe it's the profile difference. And when I got out of my car and actually looked at the profile, it was dramatically difference between an R35 and an R40, and it shouldn't be that much of a difference, but it looked different. So I took it down to Discount Tire again, and they apologized profusely. It was not only a different profile, but it was also different tires, Continental versus Michelin. I don't know if it was tread pattern, whatever. They replaced it with an R40 Michelin tire. Actually, no, it was a Goodyear EV tire with the rear, 255 R40. Same width and profile as the front, and immediately traction control system fixed, everything good to go, all is fine. I just wanted to give the heads up to anybody with tire issues, as I know you've had, not this specific issue, but many other tire issues. Thanks, man.
Thank you for sharing your story, Jonathan. That was no doubt a bit stressful, or at least I know I'd have been pretty stressed out in that situation. It's surprising that Tesla wasn't able to diagnose that immediately, but I'm glad that you found your answer, and I'm even happier to hear that the tire shop apologized and took care of you. I'm happy to play this clip for everybody in case it happens to anybody else listening out there, and learning from your experience can be of use. So cheers, Jonathan. Appreciate the call as always. I've got time for one more call this week. It comes from Kevin in nearby, to me, San Mateo.
Hey Ryan, this is Kevin from San Mateo. I've been listening to your coverage of the Cybertruck 10-day pricing saga, and I wanted to offer a different lens on your bafflement over why they would do this. My theory is that we're watching a masterclass in in-market price testing. Most companies build models to predict a price that resonates with customers. Tesla uses the order button to find one. They floated that $60K price as a live experiment to find the price floor. The second they saw sales spike and that 2027 delivery estimate pop up, the experiment was over, mission accomplished. Elon's "We Are" tweet about the 10-day window wasn't a mistake, it was the exit strategy for the test. Look at the result. They found the floor, proved the demand was there, and immediately jacked the price $10K higher. But it gets better. By creating a 10-day panic and then showing the world a 14-month waitlist, they've successfully bootstrapped a narrative of insane demand that justifies the higher price to the next wave of buyers. I've watched this pattern of in-market experimentation for years. It's a feature, not a bug. It's not that Tesla isn't worried about brand damage. It's that they ruthlessly prioritize revenue over brand integrity and sadly over doing the right thing for the customer. We all know Tesla is a data-driven company, so this is just another way that this is manifesting, unfortunately at the expense of customers and customer goodwill. Thanks for giving me a place to vent, Ryan. Love the show. Keep up the great work.
Thanks for calling in, Kevin. You know, just as a random aside, I used to live in San Mateo. I love that town. I used to hit up the Amici's in downtown San Mateo on the regular before the San Francisco pizza scene blew up. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. I can't disagree with anything that you're saying, and I think you summed it up pretty well at the end. They are ruthlessly prioritizing revenue, perhaps over brand integrity, and perhaps over doing the right thing for the customer. Now, plenty of people out there, again, like I was saying at the top, I don't need to repeat myself, but there are plenty of people that might go ahead and justify that. And again, I couldn't necessarily disagree with that, but I am allowed to not like it. Because as I said earlier on this very episode, and I've said plenty of times before, Tesla has historically done the right thing by the customer. And I hope that they don't pull anything like this again in the future, like say, I don't know, with the Model YL, although I guess I wouldn't expect them to have any demand issues with that one if they do bring it stateside. All right, that's all the time I've got in this week's segment here for Ride the Lightning, or for the Ride the Lightning hotline, pardon me. If you have a question, comment, or discussion topic, I would love to hear from you. You can call in anytime using one of those 2 call-in methods that I explained at the top of this segment. And now we move to the Soul of Adventure portion of the podcast. What's going on with me and my car? Well, the Soul of Adventure is at Immaculate Reflections right now, getting a couple little things going on. And as it so happened, the visit proved to be timely because just yesterday, I dropped it off this morning at Immaculate Reflections. Yesterday, I was out doing an errand, FSD on, of course, because, by the way, I'm very proud to say I just crossed 1,000 miles on version 14.2. You know, if you look in the autopilot menu, it shows you your percentage of FSD use over how many miles. So 1,000 miles plus now of FSD, and I just crossed 99% FSD usage. But one of those FSD miles yesterday, I was in a residential area, not near my house at all, but so residential area, and so 25 mile an hour speed limit, nothing quick, but how sometimes at residential street intersections, there'll be like a big dip down and then big dip back up for the middle of the intersection, and then a dip down at the other side of it, and because there's like drainage channels or water runoff things there. Well, that was the case here. And so I was keeping an eye on FSD because, of course, I don't want to bottom out my car. Well, FSD seemed to recognize it, and it slowed down noticeably. And I thought, okay, yeah, let's let this happen. It couldn't have been going more than 5 miles an hour, but it was like 1 mile per hour too much, and it did scrape the underside of my front splitter, that front fascia of the car on the Model 3 Performance. So I get it to Immaculate Reflections today and add it to the list of the little things, and thankfully, here's again, this is literally the 5th or 6th time that PPF has saved my original paint. And sure enough, I had, because the whole car is wrapped in PPF, especially the front end. And Jeff at Immaculate Reflections, he wraps the PPF underneath, because you don't want any seams showing, underneath, and he put it like all the way on the underside of the painted area of the splitter. And so PPF absorbed all of that damage. Again, I'm not mad at FSD because it seemed like it slowed down enough. The car just happened to bottom out there in the front end ever so slightly. So it was a bummer. And I took a look at the car when I got home and I was like, we'll see about this one. But yep, PPF saved me again. So that PPF is being replaced right now. Actually, he finished it earlier today. It's drying overnight here. I'll pick up the car tomorrow. And yay, PPF. I am a walking endorsement for paint protection film. You will not find a bigger proponent of it on a car that you care about than me. Time now for your pro tip of the week. It comes from Andrew in Ottawa. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey Ryan, Andrew from Ottawa calling. Hope everyone's doing well. Calling with a response or pro tip in regards to FSD and wiper usage. Now, hopefully with the recent announcement, there might be a upgrade to our terrible windshield wipers, the number one complaint of all Tesla owners. But until then, what I personally do, I love the suggestion about the voice command to turn wipers off. But an alternative way to not necessarily quiet the car or stop your music or podcast is to press the left scroll wheel in until the menu comes up, and then I have it set to default stay on wiper mode. So I just press and hold, scroll down once to go from auto to off, and then the wipers are off. I hate that that's a thing that we have to do, but that's what we got to do. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
I will happily take another road that leads to this same less annoying destination, Andrew. Thank you very much for calling in with that one. And if anybody else out there has a good Tesla or other EV pro tip of the week, I'd love for you to call in with it so that I can learn from it and I can share it with everybody and we can all learn from it. So To call in with a pro tip of the week, it's simple. Just call in the same way that you would call in with a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call. I gave you the easy call-in instructions for that just a little while ago. Before I go, I wanted to mention a few friends of Ride the Lightning. I'll start, since I was mentioning them a minute ago, with Immaculate Reflections. I'm obviously a customer. I'm a longtime customer. If you're in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area with your Tesla or another car in your life that you love, treat that car to some detailing work at Immaculate Reflections. Go to irdetailing.com. You'll see a contact button there in either the upper left corner or the middle of the page. Click that and you can reach out to Jeff there and just tell him what you're looking for. He will work with you on your budget and what you're after. Maybe you want ceramic coating. Maybe you want paint protection film. Maybe you want paint correction. Get that finish looking as good as you can. In my case, I'm having some more PPF done because it did its job and saved my front splitter from yesterday's incident. So you can, again, reach out through irdetailing.com and make sure in your correspondence that you mentioned that you are a Ride the Lightning listener. That way you will get the Ride the Lightning listener discount. Also, don't forget about abstractocean.com. They make so many great aftermarket Tesla accessories, from lighting kits to the custom glass screen protectors, just 1,000,001 different things for your Tesla or other EV too, because they also they've got Rivian products as well. My genuine encouragement is to just go there and take a look. That's it. It doesn't cost you anything. Abstractocean.com. Click on whichever vehicle you have at the top of the page, and you'll see everything that's there. Anything that you like, throw it in your online shopping cart, and when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. That coupon code again, RTLPodcast, all one word, no spaces. Next up, RPM Tesla. They offer over 1,400 custom-designed Tesla products that ensure compatibility with Tesla warranties and safety systems. These products are designed in-house, including their steering wheel upgrades, their dashboards, their spoilers, and their full carbon fiber body kits. You can buy with confidence with RPM Tesla. They do not charge restocking fees or require customers to pay for return shipping if you're dissatisfied with the product. Their product return rate, they tell me, is less than 3%, which allows them to offer free returns, 0 restocking fees, and lifetime warranties. RPM believes selling high-quality products and standing behind them fosters brand loyalty. They also have over 600 DIY installation videos on YouTube, so installing their products is simple and very detailed for all Tesla owners. Visit rpmtesla.com and use the promo code RPMRTL for an additional 5 to 10% off your next order. Yes, this will be combined with their current discounted sales prices. This exclusive promotion is only available here on Ride the Lightning. Meanwhile, the Infinity Shield, this is the garage door sensor that will prevent any hazards from ever happening because it creates a field full of frickin' lasers, to quote 90s. The young people are like, oh my God, what is he doing right now? Austin Powers, classic 90s comedy. Anyway, the Infinity Shield creates a shield of lasers in your garage door opening, whereas typically most of us just have that one sensor a couple inches off the ground at the very bottom. So it's not going to catch everything. The Infinity Shield will. So it does not need to be aligned ever. It's easy to install yourself with no special tools, and it's compatible with all garage door openers. Get yours at infinity-shield.com, or you can click the link in the episode description, and make sure to use the promo code RTL for a $35 discount. Next up, don't forget about the snap plate. If you want or are legally required to have a front license plate on your vehicle, I do very much recommend the snap plate. Available in 2 flavors, regular and extra strength. and that's the Snap Plate Plus is the extra strength version. It's available for all the Teslas and a bunch of other EVs as well. Get yours at everyamp.com/RTL. And when you get to checkout with whichever one you end up choosing, make sure to use the coupon code RTL for a nice little discount. Thank you to the Snap Plate folks at EveryAmp for offering that coupon code to the Ride the Lightning listeners. So when it's on there securely, but if you ever want to take it off, it will come off without leaving any unsightly hardware behind, unlike Tesla's front license plate mounting bracket, which comes with your car. Yeah, you don't have to pay for it, but it uses automotive tape, automotive adhesive to stick to the front of your car. So if you ever want to get it off, good luck doing so without scratching the paint. Again, one more time, everyamp.com/RTL, coupon code RTL, and you can always click the link in the episode description as well. Finally, my Patreon. I mentioned it earlier. I'm going to mention it one more time here. If you feel it in your heart, you feel that I have earned your support, my hope is to earn it at some point. Maybe you're a newer listener and now is not the time, but maybe if you've been listening for a while, you think, you know what, Ryan? Yeah, you show up every week. You deliver a good podcast. At least, I hope you think that. I hope I do. I'm trying. But you can support me on Patreon. That's the bottom line here. For starting at just $5 a month, for just $5 a month, you'd be helping me out a ton. And the thank you for that $5 a month is you will get an ad-free episode every week, and you'll get that ad-free episode early. So it's a little double bonus there. If you step up to that most popular tier, the $10 per month tier, you'll get the ad-free early access, and you'll get access to the entire archive now of those 180-something lightning round mini episodes that I do every single week over on Patreon, including, again, the one this week that's talking about that 3-point plan that I would have for Tesla to fix what I feel ails them right now. So check it out, patreon.com/Tesla podcast. You can follow this podcast on any of the big podcast services. The benefit to doing that, A, it's free. B, it means that you don't have to remember to go download a new episode. Your podcast service will do it for you if you're following this podcast. So to do that, go on your favorite podcast service, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, TuneIn, etc., and just search Ride the Lightning Tesla. You should see this podcast pop right up and click the follow button. That's it. Done. That's all you got to do. Finally, you can follow me on X and or on Instagram. My username on both of those is DMC_Ryan. And you can always email me about Tesla or EV related things at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Finally, I'd like to say hello and thank you to my top tier Patreon backers. These are the extra generous folks. Big thanks. You know what? I'm going to start with the grandfathered in plaid level supporters this week. This tier is officially no more on my Patreon, but these very kind folks continue to pledge at that level, continue to support me, and I super appreciate it. So thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. Next up, the maximum plaid tier. Big hello and big thank you goes out to Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Patrick Wisniewski, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, who I just had In-N-Out Burger with last night. Had a great time meeting him while he was out here on business. Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, Jerry Slinger, Kenneth Corbett, Brian Bertoglio, Kim Bay, Troy Sievers, Chip Hooper, Matt Chinander, Robert Moran, Rav, Christopher Mann, Michael Williams, Eric Harbert, and Scott Shepper. And finally, the Roadster in Space tier backers. Thank you to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, American Home Contractors, Doug Carey, Michael Gallo, and Tony Figueroa. And that will wrap it up for this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, your weekly Tesla and EV podcast. For two snoozing doggos over here on the couch, Lily and Daisy, I'm Ryan McCaffrey. Happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.